You're listening to Preacher in the Hat Podcast. Lock us in and rip the knob off.
Welcome back for another episode of Preacher in the Hat. We're continuing our Stories of Transformation series. My name is Derek. Across from me is my brother Eric. Behind the camera is once again and always who is Mr. Chris Sumter, who said he never takes a day off, and that might be true. They say that millennials killed the shaving product industry, and leading that charge is our guest in studio today, none other than Mr. Michael Farley. Give it up.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Anyway,
There may not be another room in this city where he could get as much respect for that beard as he gets in this room.
mad respect.
Totally unmerited.
If you're a listener,
He hates it, by the way.
he
Just
hates
so
the
everybody
beard.
knows.
Yeah.
If you're a listener and you're not watching, think like, you know, what are we comparing to? How do we describe the beard? For it's just
I just can't take my eyes off.
It's that good.
Chris is weirdly drawn in by it.
Yeah.
He smelled it earlier.
So, anyways, Eric, you want to talk through just a brief thing on the series?
Yeah, so if this is your first chance to listen to one of our recent episodes, this is if everything goes correctly and we release things the way we should, you will we expect you would be listening to our third episode of our Stories of Transformation series, and of course this one with our good friend Michael Farley. So that's kind of what we've decided to lay out. We did the first one by ourselves, and now we are rattling off some guests. If you listened with us last week, it was last week for you. For us, it was about 12 minutes ago. You listened with Mr. Justin Castle, another good friend of ours, before. If you missed that, be sure to go back and check that one out after this. Not chronological, so feel free to go ahead and
consume as you wish.
Finish off this episode. Yeah, but we're excited to have you in with us, Michael.
So the series is about transformation. I have no idea what we're going to talk about.
I've been the same forever.
I never watched those movies.
Yeah. And yeah, also if you missed the last episode, just like that, you will see that we forgot to mention at the start that our dad Steve is not sitting in this chair, so he has stepped out for these two episodes.
This chair feels like it's revolting against me.
So we
Here we go.
Yeah,
here we go. Go ahead, Derek.
We actually had the conversation with Justin before we started recording his episode. That chair, it's almost like, oh, you think you're going to record a podcast when you're sitting in me?
Yeah.
For everyone except my dad.
Yeah.
Who is like, that's
He
like,
loves it.
Yeah, he
got
loves it.
trained,
It's great.
yeah.
There was rumblings when we started the podcast about getting 3 of those because he already had one, and me and Derek were like, no.
I sat in it. Yeah, right. I sat in it for one episode. Remember when our sisters were on? And I was like, I can't work this thing, man. Like, it's like you're recording in it, and it just want to like kind of just like slump.
Yeah, you're slowly disappearing out of the camera.
And you saw if you were watching some, you might have seen Justin going like, just like trying to reset himself.
But it swivels, and you feel like you slip.
Yeah.
And you're also like sitting at a just like slightly different eye level, like than me and Derek, because we're in identical chairs. And I don't know. Anyway, Dad loves it. So
if you were chilling after, like you weren't recording a podcast, and I set up like a TV here for you to watch your favorite show, you'd be like, all right, sweet, this is good.
Listen, if I was chilling, this is the last chair that I would
Oh, really?
sit in.
Okay, so even then, like, all right, so he's out on it regardless. Yeah. So all right, now that we've
so let's
stuck
hustle
Michael
through this one, boys.
Now that we've stuck Michael in a chair that he absolutely hates.
I'm thrilled to be here.
So why don't you go ahead and give us an elevator pitch testimony? 30 seconds.
Well, gentlemen, my life was once like this chair.
Terrible.
Chairs do matter because I think that a lot like people, you can have people that have great personality but terrible integrity. And chairs can be like that. Oh, it looks pretty. What? It's gorgeous in the corner. No integrity whatsoever.
See, I feel like this chair has integrity, no personality.
Anyway, what a weird line to draw. Okay. So we know Michael. How we know Michael? We know Michael through church. How long have you been going to church with us, Michael?
About a year.
Man,
About a year
Has
now.
it really been a year?
Yeah.
How long have you been playing on the worship team?
Since like December, maybe?
3 months,
Something like
a
that.
little bit longer, maybe.
Yeah.
I think because you were when we did like our Christmas stuff. You were on the team briefly before that, I think.
Yeah. And I was like, man, I wonder, like, just when Derek's going to ask me to participate. I think one day your dad came up to me. He was like, Derek's never going to ask you to participate.
so we funny story about that, and we kind of covered this on the pod with Justin some too, but like we had been gun shy on like guys who like coming through Brother Brian or whatever, and Justin actually was if you listen to the last podcast, Justin was a big part of changing that like talking seriously, like Justin changed,
Was a turning point for that.
some of that perception.
He's good for that.
Yeah. And but I also like it, and maybe this is not the approach of every worship leader, and I don't know that I would necessarily recommend it to anyone, but it's kind of what given our church environment and a lot of the come and go that we see with people, I've found it best not to chase anybody down, and not hunt.
Yeah.
And I've also done the same, even when like we've recruited volunteers for other areas, not just worship. I don't like, my dad is much better at, he'll point you out and be like, hey man, I need you to do this and this, and you'll be like, oh yeah, okay. But you don't even know if you really want to do it. Like, if it's more like long-term stuff, I'm like, I want people who will come up and be like, hey man, I really, I've got, this is how I can contribute, and I would like to participate in that.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like how we've handled it.
Yeah.
I know like there's some churches don't have that. Maybe it's just like a little different environment or whatever, but it's really worked out better for us because there have been so many people who walk up to me and like, oh, hey man, I want to do this or blah, blah, blah.
And that is
then
literally
next
the
Sunday,
last time you see them ever.
never see their face again.
Yeah.
And so, and I told you this, I think, before, and we still haven't sung the song at church,
Right.
but we're going to. Before you were ever leading on, or before you ever joined our team, you were leading some on Sunday nights, and then also when I don't remember when y'all started up to Celebrate Recovery.
It was August. I think we had our first meeting.
Yeah. And so from my perspective, I look back and I'm like, oh man, like Michael's I'd heard you sing and whatever. I'm like, he's got his own thing going, dude. Like he's happy with what he's with, like Sunday evenings and Wednesday, and I'm like, I didn't want to be like, hey man, come.
Well, we had conversations. You and I, Derek, had conversations about that. We're like, we don't want to like snatch Michael.
Yeah.
Like and that's what we should have never been thinking that way.
Yeah.
But like, because you can just ask if you would like to participate.
Yeah.
Novel idea, I know. But like, we were like, well, he's got so much going on. We don't want to just like snatch him from something else and like he's ours, Anyway.
But like, so when I finally did approach you, like, I was like, hey, if you ever, need to use me on Sunday morning, I would love to.
Famous last words, because now we never stop.
Scheduled like every Sunday. since then.
but you were like, it's so weird that you came up to me
Yes.
today
Because
and asked me that.
I had I listened to a new song by Benjamin William Hastings called "If It Wasn't for Jesus," and it was like one of those things.
Are we doing that song?
Yeah, we're gonna be doing.
Fellas, let's go.
But anyways, and it was one of those things like his stuff for me whenever it first comes out, so I was just like on repeat, and so I was like going through the album and I it wasn't like a hey you should or hey you're suggesting. It was like a statement of fact. I felt God say to me, he's like, you're gonna lead that song one day, Grace and Truth, with Michael Farley. And at this point, I'm not even sure, outside of like being like you had played a song on a Sunday morning, and outside of just being like, hey man, great job,
Right.
whatever, and hey, what's up? Like, I don't think we had like really had an actual like true conversation
Right,
to
yeah.
that point. And I was like, what? Okay. And like 2 Sundays later, Michael's like, hey man, I'd really like to participate. I was like, oh, okay, yeah. And God was doing that sort of thing. So yeah, we will definitely be singing that. And I don't know if you know this. I know you, Eric. I know you know this. He released a full band version of that song,
Okay,
which
that's
is gonna
really helpful.
It's
Because when I listened to it, I was like, how
how are
is
we
he
gonna do
planning
this?
to do the
It's like him
arrangement
on a
this?
ukulele, right?
But he's releasing it as part of an album, which I know everybody listening to this conversation right now may not care at all. But yeah, but
Chris being one of them. Yeah.
he's releasing it basically. I don't know exactly how he named the album, but the album is essentially how I would sing it on Sunday mornings. And so he's
Oh wow!
so
Thanks.
yeah,
Thanks,
Yeah,
brother.
I appreciate that.
yeah,
so that's pretty cool.
yeah.
So that's how we know Michael. We're talking about stories of transformation, and you be as specific and detailed as you want, and as vague as you want.
Yeah.
Really,
We're not necessarily asking for like a chronological testimony that you have to just, that you have to rattle off.
but I think one way that Eric described it to Justin, and he gave us like a really great, like just simple way, was like, think about your lowest point and then how the upturn started
Yeah.
after that, and what God did, and obviously is still doing.
Yeah.
But do you have anything like that? It doesn't necessarily even have to be the moment of salvation or anything like that.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about that too, though.
Oh yeah. That's good stuff too.
So I think about this a lot lately. Like, I was baptized at a pretty young age. I was like 10 years old. Okay.
So you grew up in church?
No.
No.
Absolutely
Okay.
not.
Okay.
But there was a small Baptist church like right down the street from where I lived, and there was a preacher there named Cranford Hicks, and
You grew up in small town Alabama?
dude, that we had like a stop sign.
Okay, like
And,
Cranford Hicks.
Cranford
You're like
Hicks.
absolute like
I was baptized in the Warrior River.
okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so for whatever reason, it took a special interest in me. And like my childhood was wild. It was very chaotic. It was like, I wish I could say that there was like a pattern of like this certain thing like just continued to happen. It was just like, man,
It was everything.
dude,
yeah.
yeah, it was wild. And so there was like no structure or stability whatsoever, which children really thrive in those types
Yes.
of environments.
Yes. Right.
But yeah, so I mean, he wanted to make sure that I came to church and heard about Jesus, and so I agreed, when I was like 10 years old, to have him baptize me in the Warrior River, and he did. And it occurs to me now a lot, like at that point, I belonged to God. And I had no idea. And like the older I got, I just began to like, bend to my own autonomy. And I was really sold a lie by hurt and ignorance, that God wasn't real. And so I started to believe that. Like 13, I think, I started, proclaiming atheism. There's no God. And I was pretty hostile about it. Like, the way that I would interact with believers was really horrible.
Did you like seek that out?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I did. I loved having those types of arguments. But I was ignorant about who God is. And so, as an atheist, who had been baptized and whether he knew it or not belonged to God, I really feel like my life was cursed in a lot of ways because of that. Like, God has been trying to draw me to repentance for a really long time. And so because of my childhood hurt, I didn't deal with things well. Like, when you grow up in the kind of environment I did, like, you are in constant survival mode. Like, you just turn off your emotions. You tell yourself that things don't bother you. You tell everyone else that things don't bother you. And eventually, like, you start to believe that, and you don't deal with things as they happen, So, and then you don't even end up dealing with stress as it happens. And that manifested into a lot of very unhealthy coping mechanisms for me, one of which was hardcore drug use. So I was 19 when I started to develop a heroin addiction. And I was very functioning heroin addict for about 7 years. I always had a good job. My bills were always paid, and nobody knew that I did heroin every day until everybody knew that I did heroin every day.
Then suddenly.
Right. So I actually quit heroin cold turkey, which is pretty wild. But I made a deal with myself. I was like, no phone, no bank account, no vehicle for 90 days. And for whatever reason that worked. Like, I never did heroin again. But I started, so I stayed clean for, I don't know, 6 months or so, which is awesome. I was really proud of myself. And I was like, yeah, I can, start, getting back into society again and hanging out with friends. And so, I could drink, sure, because that wasn't what I struggled with. So I could drink, and it's going to be totally fine. And so I did, and eventually, started dabbling in other things, and ended up getting addicted to meth, which is really wild, to go from heroin to methamphetamine. Like, they're complete opposites, opposite ends of the drug spectrum. But I became homeless pretty quick after that happened. And so I thought that was rock bottom. Like, I'm homeless. This must be like as bad as it can possibly get. So I agreed that I had a problem and I needed help. So I ended up at the Foundry Men's Recovery Center, which was great, but I was there like to improve my social status. Like, I just didn't want to be homeless anymore. It's a faith-based recovery program for people that don't know. They subscribe Jesus, and I didn't believe God was real. So I told you I found God in a can of Pringles.
I've been waiting. Honestly, you said that off camera, and I've been waiting to hear the word Pringles. So let's get after it.
Okay, so my first night at the Foundry, they accepted me, and they didn't have a bed for me. So they stuck me on this smelly couch, and I was just like, I couldn't sleep, obviously. on a smelly couch in a new place and like the culture shock alone from like communal living.
Sure.
Like, it was wild. Like I never experienced anything like that before. And so, yeah, I could not sleep. And so I went downstairs. There was like a common area where they had lockers, and that they had assigned one of those lockers to me. And I had some snacks in there, including a can of Pringles. So I got the can of Pringles out, and I was just sitting there eating them. And all of a sudden, like, this wave just crashed into me. And it was not something that I think I'll ever really be able to articulate or explain fully to anybody, like what that feeling was. But it was the presence of God. And I knew right then that God was real and that he loved me. And I just started falling into this can of Pringles. I was like, I'm so sorry. I felt so sorry. And that's all I could say over and over again, just crying into this can of Pringles, that I'm sorry, God. Like, I can't believe, like, you love me and this is how I acted towards you. And so I was sold then. I was like, okay, Jesus, like this, all right, I'm here. I understand like why I'm here now. And so I started reading the Bible, and I was there at the Foundry for a little while, and about 3 months, and I got dismissed in the third phase of that program due to an inappropriate relationship that I was involved in. And so this is really silly, but I felt like God used that whole situation to be like, you're good, man. Like, this is when you were supposed to leave here. I did not need to leave. But I did well for a little while. I was going to church. A lot of my family is really involved in a church called Fusion Church in Hueytown. So I was going there and kind of getting involved a little bit, but kind of, keeping them at arm's length. Yeah. So that, in the case, which ended up happening, like that I just stopped showing up. Like, I don't have to worry about people like, where are you? What are you doing? Or like holding me accountable. Can you imagine if somebody tried to hold you accountable?
I guarantee you Steve Longenecker didn't go to that church.
It turns out it's really necessary to have people hold you accountable. And not just like in the sense of like you're coming out of that lifestyle, like just like in general as a person, like if you're being a crappy person, like you should have people around you that tell you about it. But but I didn't, because I made it that way. Like, and so God blessed me in a lot of ways with a really great job, great apartment. And I was like, look what I did.
Yeah.
Look how great I am.
So easy.
I got it from here,
It's
God.
so easy.
Yeah. So can you imagine how that went?
Yeah.
Now I know beyond a shadow of a doubt, God is real and he loves me. And this is how I started acting. Like, look at what I was able to do. Yeah. It didn't go well. I was clean for like 3 months and relapsed. I had the good job and a great apartment, and convinced myself that like nobody knew I was using, which is ridiculous. Like, if you've ever interacted with anybody that's high on methamphetamine, like,
Yeah.
you know that.
But the whole time you're like, they don't know.
Right? Yeah, which is ridiculous. So eventually, I lost my job.
Yeah.
And became homeless again, and struggled for a while, and was able to get another pretty decent job, and which I wasn't able to hold for very long, and I became homeless again. And so I was shoplifting a lot to supplement my income. And
Supplement, man.
And
It's not funny. It's not. It's not.
but
yeah.
like it's
But it
so
is.
gracefully described, but it's not like this. It's like you're like describing a side hustle.
right. Like something's totally legit. Yeah, it's
Sorry.
Yeah,
Okay.
it was not legit. Yeah, and they really frown upon that.
Yeah,
The powers
they,
that be.
They do.
Yeah. So eventually, I got arrested last February, and I knew immediately. Like I guess most people like get bummed out about getting arrested. And I usually do too, but not this time. I knew immediately God was like, "You're done, buddy. This is it." And it wasn't like he was wagging the finger at me.
Right.
And, you know, like, "This is it." It was like, "This is it, Michael. Like, we're done here." Like, he truly, like, drew me to repentance, delivered me. And
So, stopping you real quick at the moment, like the cuffs were on or whatever, or whenever you kind of came to that realization that God was drawing that line for you.
Yeah.
Was there relief in that? Or was okay.
yes, it was beautiful. It really was. Like, I was in jail, just like really optimistic about what was going on, and I had like I had like a $26,000 bond, like with the charges that I had, which is a lot more money than I had at the time.
Yeah.
You know.
So you were like, I'm in here.
Yeah, I could not supplement my income enough to
There's
cover
no
a
more
$26,000
supplementing.
bond. So yeah, I was there, you know, and Brother Brian got brought up to me, and so I had both of my interviews. Like, you have to at Brother Brian Mission, like, their intake process is like this: like, you fill out your application, and then you have to have 2 interviews. And they decide, like, if you're there for the right reasons. Basically, they use discernment as part of their process for who they bring in. And I did both of my interviews over the phone from Shelby County Jail. And the first one was pretty quick, you know, because I didn't have very much money on my phone. And it got hung up later. Yeah. So, but the next one, you know, it was about 20 minutes with Brian Keene and Lee, who is our intake coordinator at Brother Brian Mission. And God, when I got off the phone, like, Brian can ask me like what my name is and have me wondering, like, do I really know the answer?
Michael?
Yeah, why'd you say like
I
a
don't
question?
know. I love Brian to death, and I think the world of Brian. He's one of the greatest teachers I've ever sat under. Like, it blows my mind how good of a teacher he is, and that's probably why he intimidates me so much. Like, in that context, like,
But I think, doesn't it serve him well?
it really does.
yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah, we could talk all day about that.
Oh, for sure. Yeah,
It does.
Yeah, top notch, like the real deal, class act kind of guy. But so I mean, I got off the phone like, I blew that. There's no way I'm getting in. But the next time I talked to Lee, he was like, you know, we're gonna bring you in. And this is kind of cool. Like, so Shelby County, like, when they get you in there, they really like it that you're there. Okay. They don't want you to leave. So, like, a couple of times they just skipped right past my court date, you know, didn't come get me, didn't tell me like when my next one was or anything like that. So I'm really just sitting there. I don't know what's going on or like when they're gonna allow me to leave. And then one day, like, they just they came and called me by myself. Usually it's like, you know, they take a group of people, but it was just me. Like, 2 sheriffs came and got me, put me in a car by myself, and took me to the courthouse to, like, sign off on 2 years probation. So they gave me 2 years probation and dropped some of the charges, which was great. And there wasn't even my judge. It was like some other judge was sat in proxy, you know, and signed off on it. And so I got to leave that day, which is crazy. And I talked to Lee, and he was like, okay, cool, man. Well, yeah, I mean, I went ahead and put you in the system about 12 o'clock today, which was like when I was signing.
Wow.
And he was like, so we already have a bed for you. This dude had no idea when I was getting out of jail. You know, I didn't have any idea when I was getting out of jail. For whatever reason, he went ahead and gave me a bed that day, like at the same time. For whatever reason,
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Like you don't know.
Right? Yeah. Because, I mean, God knew what His plan was.
Yeah.
And He knows what His plan is for me, and I'm just in awe every day at the things that He's allowing me to do. Like, I mean, so 2018. So how many years is that? I'm really bad at math. 7 years ago,
Dude.
I was an atheist. 7 years ago, I was an atheist. And now, like, He allows me to lead His children in worship, to be active in ministry, like to be around men like you guys. That, I mean, it's unreal. Like the relationships alone in this last year that God has just lavished on me is unreal. It really is. Like my life is so far beyond different than what I was delivered from. Like there will never be a time that it doesn't just blow me away.
I mean, you could look back in what like 13 months ago, right? I guess when you were, or 14 months ago.
Right.
And think like if future you came up, if you could go back in time and tell yourself like, hey, let me tell you about life in March of 2025.
And just
you would have been like, dude,
Stop messing with me.
yeah, go away.
Yeah.
But there's
that's
no way.
That's how big God is.
That's
man.
what He does, man.
Yeah.
That is what He does.
Yes, it is. And it's like, I don't know. Like I knew, like I said, I knew God was real and that He loved me. This past year, I learned what it actually means to have a relationship with Jesus. I never, like, I just never had that before. And I'm telling you, man, like what God can do in a year is unreal. Like we should come back next year and just talk about what
God He did
has done. Dude, I'm telling you, bro, it's gonna, I mean, I'm just in love with it. And I wake up every morning just ready for what's next.
Yeah.
And so yeah, transformation.
That was
Yeah. Yeah. And I love too, we when we were able to talk with Justin for our last episode, you know, the comparison and like, you know, things that changed for Justin and what God was doing there was kind of a slow and steady sort of thing. And there's some of that in your story too, but then it's like the contrast here is God literally like smacking you in the face with a Pringles can. Not that everything, you know, not that everything was great from that moment, like you said,
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
but just like, and then, you know, and then it's almost like, again, you know, then He smacked you in the face with some handcuffs
Right.
and was like, this is over. You're done. Like you're done.
Yeah.
And,
that's wild to me, like something like that, like and just as a generality, like that doesn't feel like love, but like I knew that it was, you know, I knew that like getting arrested, which is, you know, by and large, you know, pretty horrible thing.
yeah. But
I knew it was God's love, and that's, I mean, stuff like that. Like when I have those kind of like revelations, I'm like, there's no way that this isn't real because I wouldn't think that up. There's no way. So yeah.
Yeah, I think like, and two, you talked about the change that can happen in a year, and then now just think like, you know, even 5 years from now,
Dude.
what you're gonna, because he's just gonna keep working,
Dude, I'm
and
telling you, like, there's no way I can think big enough.
yeah. And you'll look back, because I've seen the things that He's done for me and for my family and stuff, and for my kids, and like you have, whenever you encounter those moments of like not even necessarily doubt, but just like, I don't know how to describe it, but those lower moments.
Yeah.
He's always there to be like, no, just, hey, remember I've been faithful. Remember
Right.
I've been faithful. Remember the good that I've done. Remember the good that I've done. And you're never gonna lose that because of all the good that he's already done.
Right.
You can always go back to this and be like, man, remember the good that God's done, and he's just gonna keep adding to it.
Right.
I'm not saying life's not gonna be perfect. Life's not gonna be, there's still gonna be highs. There's still gonna be lows. But man, he's the foundation that he's setting and all that stuff or whatever. It's special.
Yeah. Truly is, man.
Because you can't set it for yourself. Like
No.
you said, you when you moved into when you had that job the first time, whatever, you're like, all right, look at this foundation I'm building.
Right.
And it can all go away in a heartbeat.
Yeah,
man.
and it does.
Well, when you turn it over to him, he builds it out of something that you don't think is a very strong foundation, like shoplifting.
Yeah.
Like like supplemental income.
Right. Yeah.
How did he do it? I don't know, man.
Yeah.
But yeah. I mean, I still am prone to that like Israelite complex, like
Yeah.
just like one little thing goes wrong. I'm like, why did you bring me out here to die, Lord? I feel
He's
so
like, chill.
yeah.
Just
Yeah. So yeah, that's it. He's
not
still,
that feeling is not exclusive to you,
It
by
is-
the way.
it is absolutely
Even
not.
in this room.
Yeah, and he doesn't have to. You're not the only person he's had to deal with that for.
Yeah.
Are you? Okay.
yeah.
I have no
but
idea
like
what
you
you guys are talking about.
You've never tried his patience.
Yeah.
Michael, man, we really appreciate you.
This was awesome.
Being on.
Yeah.
And,
You know what?
Don't be surprised when we have you
I was
back.
gonna say
Yeah.
he introduced the idea. Like let's come back a year from now and talk about
if not sooner. Yeah. Yeah.
And you know what? Maybe this chair's not so bad after all.
Hey, another story of transformation. Well, for Derek and Chris behind the cameras, our special guest, Mr. Michael Farley.
Sir.
My name's Eric. This has been Preacher in the Hat, and we'll see you next time.